I still remember the exact moment my stomach dropped, because it was the moment reality stopped making sense. If I had ignored that phone call, I probably wouldn't be alive today. I know that sounds impossible, and if someone else told me the same story, I would probably laugh and assume they were making it up. But every word of this happened to me. It was a cold Thursday evening in Ohio, and I was driving home after a long shift at work. Nothing unusual had happened during the day. I was tired, thinking about what to eat for dinner, and counting down the minutes until I could relax at home. The roads were wet from a recent rainstorm, and traffic was moving slowly through the city. As I sat at a red light, my phone suddenly began ringing through my car's Bluetooth system. I glanced at the screen and immediately felt confused. The caller ID showed my own number. At first I thought it was a glitch. Maybe my phone was malfunctioning or some strange app was causing an error. Still, curiosity got the better of me, so I answered. For several seconds, there was nothing except static. Then I heard breathing. Heavy, nervous breathing. Before I could say hello, a voice spoke. The moment I heard it, every hair on my body stood up. The voice belonged to me. Not someone who sounded similar. Not someone doing an impression. It was my exact voice. Same tone. Same accent. Same way of speaking. The voice sounded terrified. Listen carefully, it said. You don't have much time. In about 10 minutes, you'll reach the intersection near Miller Road. A red pickup truck is going to run the red light. Whatever you do, don't move when your light turns green. My heart began pounding. I tried asking who this was and how they knew my name, but the voice ignored me. It simply repeated the warning. Then, just before the call disconnected, it said something that made my blood run cold. I'm you. Please trust me. The line went dead. I stared at my phone in complete disbelief. I checked the call log immediately, expecting to see some strange number, but the incoming call was listed as my own phone number. I pulled into a parking lot and sat there trying to process what had just happened. Every logical explanation I came up with fell apart. It had to be a prank, but how could someone copy my voice perfectly? How could they know where I was driving? Most importantly, why did I feel so certain that the fear in that voice was real? I eventually got back on the road, but my hands were shaking as I gripped the steering wheel. I kept replaying the conversation in my mind, trying to convince myself it was a joke. Yet the closer I got to the intersection the voice had mentioned, the more nervous I became. About 10 minutes later, I found myself approaching the exact location described in the call. The traffic light ahead was red, so I stopped and waited. My pulse was racing. Cars lined up beside me, and people around me appeared completely normal, unaware that I was sitting there questioning reality. When the light finally turned green, the cars around me immediately began moving forward. I almost did the same. My foot lifted slightly from the brake pedal. Then I remembered the desperation in my own voice during that phone call. For some reason I hesitated. It was only a second, maybe 2 at most, but that hesitation changed everything. Suddenly a red pickup truck exploded into the intersection from the right side. It was moving unbelievably fast, far above the speed limit. The driver never even touched the brakes. The truck blasted through the red light and slammed directly into an SUV crossing the intersection. The sound was like an explosion. Metal twisted. Glass shattered everywhere. The SUV spun violently before crashing into a traffic pole. People screamed and several cars swerved to avoid the wreckage. I sat frozen behind the wheel, unable to breathe. If I had driven forward when the light changed, my car would have been directly in the truck's path. There was no doubt in my mind. I would have been hit instead. Emergency vehicles arrived within minutes, but I barely noticed. I couldn't stop staring at the wreckage and thinking about the call. The prediction had been exact. Not close. Not lucky. Exact. Every detail matched. The red truck. The location. The timing. Everything. Later that night, police officers took statements from witnesses, including me. I considered telling them about the phone call but stopped myself. How could I explain something that sounded completely insane? Instead, I went home and spent hours searching online for similar stories. I looked into phone spoofing, voice cloning, and technical glitches. Nothing explained what had happened. Every answer created more questions. As midnight approached, I sat alone in my apartment staring at my phone, almost expecting it to ring again. Part of me hoped it would. Another part of me was terrified that it might. For the next several months, the mystery consumed my life. I contacted my phone provider repeatedly, requesting detailed records of the call. According to their system, the call never existed. There was no incoming connection at that time. No trace whatsoever. Friends laughed when I cautiously mentioned parts of the story. My family assumed stress was affecting my memory. Eventually, I stopped talking about it altogether. Life slowly returned to normal, but I never completely forgot what had happened. Then, 6 months later, something occurred that shattered any remaining sense of normality. One weekend I was cleaning old files from my laptop when I discovered an audio recording stored in a folder I rarely used. The file name was nothing but random numbers, and I had no memory of creating it. Curious, I clicked play. What happened next nearly made me fall out of my chair. The recording began with static, followed by heavy breathing. Then I heard a voice. My voice. It was the exact same frightened voice from the phone call. I listened in disbelief as the recording repeated every word of the warning I had received that night. My hands trembled so badly I could barely hold the mouse. Then the recording continued beyond the point where the phone call had ended. A few seconds later, I heard myself say something I had never heard before. If this worked, then you're alive. The voice paused, sounding exhausted. I don't know how long this connection will stay open. I don't know if you'll ever understand how this happened. But if you're hearing this, it means I finally found a way to reach you. The recording ended immediately afterward. I checked the file details and felt another wave of panic. The creation date matched the exact night of the phone call. To this day, I have never discovered where that recording came from or how it appeared on my computer. I still have the file saved on multiple drives because I'm afraid of losing it. Every once in a while, usually late at night, I listen to it again. Each time I do, I ask myself the same question. If that voice really was me, then where was it calling from? And why did it sound like someone who had already lived through my future, ***?